Senator O'Neill.
Thank you, Acting Deputy President. And I start my remarks this evening with a quote. In a large hierarchical organisation, there is reticence of people to put their hand up. People need to be confident that if they put their hand up, someone is going to investigate it, that if it's substantiated, someone is going to take action, and they're going to be protected if they put their hand up. These words are from Mr Andrew Yates, the Chief Executive Officer of KPMG Australia, giving evidence to the Senate's Finance and Public Accounts Committee inquiry into the Big Four consulting firms on the 27th of September 2023. What I want to bring to the attention of the Senate tonight is evidence from a whistleblower, a former senior executive working at KPMG Australia, that reveals a very different reality to that which Mr Yates was spruiking here in the Senate. I've taken great care to verify via documentation the authenticity of the matters I'm putting on record here in the Senate of the Australian Parliament tonight. In the words of the whistleblower, on the 30th of May 2024, I provided information to an eligible recipient within KPMG Australia for the purpose of invoking the statutory whistleblower provisions under the Corporations Act. The information disclosed concerned matters that I had reasonable grounds to suspect constituted misconduct or an improper state of affairs or circumstances in relation to a regulated entity. The concerns I intended to raise related to audit independence, misuse of confidential information, tender integrity failures, misleading of Parliament, examination misconduct and governance failures at a senior leadership level. Prior to and following the written disclosure, aspects of these matters had been raised verbally with senior leadership and partners within KPMG Australia. After invoking the whistleblower framework, no independent investigation of the substance of concerns was commenced, adverse action was taken against me, the disclosure was recharacterised as a workplace grievance. The whistleblower goes on to detail their efforts to escalate their disclosure, which includes KPMG executives, KPMG International, including its global chairman and global general counsel, and eventually ASIC, before making this disclosure to me, a parliamentarian in the public interest. The whistleblower goes on to detail the allegations of serious misconduct within KPMG Australia's audit and tender processes, and how the whistleblower's efforts to raise concerns about those issues was suppressed by governance failures that they believe extend into KPMG's international network. In the whistleblower's words again, the matters concern audit independence failures, misuse of confidential client information, corruption of ASX audit tender processes, knowingly misleading a Senate inquiry, generative AI exam cheating following their remediation claims, a pre-disclosure pattern of retaliation corroborated by a senior KPMG partner, retaliation against a protected whistleblower following formal disclosure, use of a deed of release as a suppression instrument, controlled and conflicted investigative processes, and international governance refusals to intervene. These matters concern audits and tenders involving ASX-listed and systematically important institutions. If audit independence is compromised or ethical walls are breached, the reliability of decision-making by audit committee is undermined. The credibility of the audit function relied upon by regulators, investors and the public is also undermined. I will now detail some of the allegations of the whistleblower revealed in the documents that I cited, and I quote, misappropriation of or theft of Lend-Lease board papers. Confidential Lend-Lease board papers were taken and circulated internally within KPMG and used to support pursuit of major audit tenders, including Westpac and Dexus. These documents were taken from Lend-Lease by the lead partners on the account, Eileen Hoggett and Paul Rogers, and were physically secured in Miss Hoggett's locker. Michael Ulmer, then chair of Lend-Lease and presiding over the Westpac audit selection process, was not informed that the tender process had been compromised by misuse of Lend-Lease confidential materials. Second matter, Telstra IT environment, improper access and use in tender context. KPMG personnel offered access to restricted documents from Telstra's IT environment via a Telstra-issued laptop. These documents related to Telstra's AI governance policies and internal practices during a live external audit tender. KPMG was not authorised to access or deploy those materials in support of a live ASX audit tender. Macquarie Bank. Serious concerns regarding independence and integrity arose during the pursuit of the Macquarie audit contract. Michelle Hinchcliffe, the former head of audit KPMG UK and previously a senior partner at KPMG Australia, where she led the audit of ANZ Bank, was centrally involved in the Macquarie audit tender process. Serious concerns regarding independence and integrity arose in the pursuit of the Macquarie audit contract. Westpac tender. The Westpac audit tender was structurally compromised by the concentration of former KPMG partners in key Westpac decision-making roles. Throughout the tender, KPMG received feedback and position intelligence not available to competitors. This included that the tender was KPMG's to lose, commentary undermining EY's proposed lead partner, guidance to reduce KPMG's fee by approximately 25%, and advice on managing perception optics. Independence, breach and procurement corruption in Dexus audit tender. While acting as the internal auditor to Dexus, KPMG positions itself to bid for the external audit, creating a clear independence risk requiring strict ethical separation under APE's 110 and Dexus' own auditor selection policies. On the 6th of November 2023, a meeting was held at KPMG Barangaroo's office. During that meeting, and despite acknowledged independence sensitivities, an arrangement was proposed where one of the people present would leave his laptop open with Dexus internal audit documents visible while he went for lunch, allowing external audit personnel to view them. Senators, there are clear allegations here of profoundly unprofessional and unethical behaviour. One presumes they are exactly the sorts of concerns that Mr Yates would technically have wanted to be aired under his speak-up culture. But what appears to be the reality for this whistleblower is that the speak-up culture of Mr Andrew Yates and KPMG told our committee inquiry about in September 2023 did not actually exist. Each of the allegations I've put before the Senate tonight is supported, as I said, by documentation. It is a great concern to me that someone who did have this evidence and professional integrity did try, through the processes available to them, to bring these concerns to the attention of KPMG and for there to be action internally. Let me be crystal clear. The whistleblower raised their concerns. The whistleblower escalated it to relevant executives. The whistleblower contacted KPMG's independent directors and even raised concerns with KPMG's internal chair and global counsel. In parallel, a situation all too familiar to whistleblowers in these secretive partnership providers of audit and assurance in Australia and across the globe, this person found themselves on the outer at work, removed from regular duties, eventually finding themselves headed out the door of a highly convoluted HR process that seemed to commence around the same time as they started raising their concerns about the behaviour they'd witnessed. And what's the result of this? Well, it's no surprise that the whistleblower no longer works at KPMG. I note that on November 7 last year, the Financial Review reported that KPMG Australia is on track to become the dominant order of the country's largest listed companies. Senators and members heard through our inquiries into the consulting audit sector, these massive consultancy partnerships had put profit before professionalism and used their privileged access to both business and government to grow their own wealth. Why does it all matter? Well, I'll leave it to the last words here from the actual whistleblower. If tender processes are compromised, competing firms are disadvantaged and audit committee decisions are distorted. If ethical walls are breached, confidential audit information is misused, and independent safeguards become performative rather than substantive. If evidence given to Senate inquiries is inaccurate or incomplete, parliamentary oversight is undermined. If statutory whistleblower protections can be neutralised through deed pressure, controlled reviews, privilege shielding and evidence deletion, the regime falls in practice. Is this really the best that the public can expect from the new so-called leader of the pack? KPMG well knows about these allegations. I say to the partners, almost 700 at KPMG, very many of you are honest, ethical, intelligent, professional people. What will you now do to redress the matters that I have raised here tonight? What will you now do to reverse the deceptions perpetrated on Lendlease, Westpac, Dexus, Telstra? When will Mr Yates apologise once again to the Senate? I remind you, Mr Yates said people need to be confident if they put their hand up, someone's going to investigate it. I can give my assurance I will continue to speak up here in the Senate in the interest of decent Australians who actually need audit insurance to operate with dignity and professional propriety.
Thank you, Senator O'Neill. Before I call the next speaker, I think I can hear something. I'm not sure what it is. It might be